Don't believe your lying eyes. All three of us are here and are ready to talk about the AFC Championship game yet again. Welcome to Only Weird Games!
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
We're all out of sorts, and I don't ever like to leave the audio audience out of the visual bits that we have. I am Joshua Brisco. If you're watching, you're also seeing Seth Keysor next to me in our little try box that we have here. And then Nate Taylor's box that's where he sits, but he's not in his chair right now. And I'm not 1,000% sure where he went, but he'll be back. Oh. It's cool. We'll all be here.
He came, he showed us Maple, he left. And so, I mean, really, it's all going to be, and I love Nate, but it's all going to be downhill from there for him anyways. So, hey!
Nate, we started, okay? We started, and because I thought live. This would be funny, but Tucker muted your mic, so if you said anything horrible off mic, you're totally fine. Woo! And also, Tucker's in Dallas now because a whole bunch of KCSN is on the road now to go for the Shrine Bowl? I think.
Oh,
I think that's where you guys are at. We literally talked to Tucker for like 2 seconds. Yes, Tucker says yes. Fantastic. Follow everything on KCSN for more coverage of what the guys are doing down there.
That's right.
Tucker just got to their location. We talked to Tucker for like 10 seconds, and now we are cooking, baby, because we have, for the 6th consecutive time in this modern era of Kansas City Chiefs football, and for what, guys, the 4th or 5th consecutive time, as the three of us have done a podcast together, but the first time in the Only Weird Games era, we're previewing an AFC Championship game.
Yes, we are. So, played with the dog, played with the puppy. Let's hope she calms down. Yes, pause, Lou. Would you like for me? This is a fair question. Would you like me to read more of New York Times excerpts of the Kansas City Chiefs, whether it's the 90s or even further? Obviously, it goes all the way back to the AFL.
Nate, I don't know if you know, we've agreed to do 2 shows a week through the offseason also, so you just keep that under your arm and you hold that for a rainy day. We're going to have great days.
I mean, it's still over there in the corner, just whenever we're ready.
I can see it.
So, we're here. Josh, one of my favorite parts of AFC Championship week, which you have enjoyed as well, is we go to the stadium, kids. There's this no more practice facility. Get that out of here, says the league. We do everything from the Arrowhead press conference, from the Arrowhead press box, from the Arrowhead. Do the elevators work? Do any of the elevators work? You guys know that the ceiling came down earlier, right? There's I believe there's a vote on April. Is that right? April 4th. You might want to click yes.
Do we know what they're gonna do?
No. That's
you will be voting in 3 months.
Looks that's asking for too much. It's an iconic stadium where everything's falling apart. But you know what could make it great again? Your vote on April 4th. Of course I said that on purpose, Josh.
Nate just said make Arrowhead great again. I don't know. I don't know if that's don't hashtag that, please. I think it's taken.
I mean, you don't have to. But look.
What could possibly go wrong? Who doesn't?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Have you thought about what a cool acronym that could be?
Yeah, make Arrowhead great again. I mean, goodness, guys,
it's catchy.
Hey,
it's easy to say.
I know lots of people do great things when we say funny stuff on this show, and they make little art or little T-shirts or little hats. Hey, don't send me that hat. Don't make it. Don't send it to me. It would be very funny, and I'm not gonna wear it. Just so you know, cannot risk the glancing eye.
Shout out to Adam Sheehan who has reported live during Only Weird Games that says Frank White has vetoed yet again anything I just said over the last 4 minutes.
Frank White actually just vetoed the phrase "make Arrowhead great again."
Yes,
so we're good. We can clear that one out.
Right. He would still like to watch the Royals play in Kauffman Stadium, even though everybody else has moved on with their lives. Now, look,
can't do stadium talk today. I want him so bad.
No, that's why this show's a beautiful thing, because you don't know where it's coming. Kind of like
where the Royal Stadium's gonna go. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
Kind of like Steve Spagnuolo, all those blitzes. Now, Josh, my favorite part today was him telling us. Did he say that he prayed? He prays,
Nate.
guys. I knew this. I mean, his play sheet, half his play sheet says, call it and pray.
Nate, we had just talked on the zone. Jason Anderson and I had just talked before that. I don't know if it was on air or off air. I can't remember. I think it was on air. We predicted it. We should have recorded evidence of this. We were talking about LaFleur's whole like you just pray thing and how that all got kind of thrown out there. And we made some joke and we said something along the lines of like, you know, if any coach is going to go up to the podium and just admit that they call plays and pray, it'd be Steve Spagnuolo. And then like 6 minutes later, he's at the podium like, I guess I'll just pray. It was incredible. A playoff form for Spags. Playoff form.
Yes. I mean, Seth, what is the equivalent of the play sheet that says call it and pray? What's your play sheet tell you there on 3rd and 8 with Lamar Jackson at the helm for the Baltimore Ravens offense?
It's called Engage Fate.
Engage 11.
Engage Fate was just
wow.
There is nothing I could possibly say that comes up better than that.
Thank you.
And
Victory
so, no, that was it. Like, Josh, you know what?
Professional.
I think
my professional broadcaster.
Hold on. 4:52 p.m., January 25th, 2024. Josh Brisco peaked. We saw it. We were all here for it. It's
Everybody else said I did it in high school, and I made it all the way to 29.
Woo!
Downhill from here.
So that was terrific. The amount of respect that the teams are giving one another, like the whole like call it and pray, that's right up there with Lamar Jackson. When it's like, well, what do you like about playing Patrick Mahomes? He's like, I don't like playing Patrick Mahomes. Like, and that's a really good point. Like people can. Like, you know, I want to beat the best. You know what I want to do? I want to win. And I want to take the easiest path to victory that is possibly available. And that's what I want. I just want to win. And so that was really funny, Lamar Jackson's comment. Like, just kind of like, no, I don't like playing him. Chase Daniel did a really good piece on that where he was talking about how it seems like teams make mistakes when they play Mahomes, like they tense up a little bit, like they just, because they know they have to be perfect. They know everything has to go well. And so it really is with Lamar Jackson, with Mark Andrews back from all appearances. Mm-hmm. Now we'll see what he's got, but he's a great player. It is kind of interesting because their offense has been ticking a little bit. Like, how do you fold someone back in? But that really is with Lamar Jackson. It's kind of similar with Josh Allen, where you call it, and even if you execute it perfectly, he might do something weird. And the difference there's a few differences with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen as scramblers. They're both great scramblers. Lamar Jackson is not going to be running people over, but he is more likely to go 90 yards.
Correct.
And that's an unfortunate thing. So I have no idea what Spags is going to call up. What I do know is it's not going to look like what they called up against the Bills. And that's the beauty with Spags. You're going to get something different each and every week, especially come playoff times, which you'd think would be a reason why he would be at least nominated for one of the best coordinators in the league. But once again, and even in this
I knew
season,
this was coming.
I'm sorry. I'm leading with this because that makes me upset that Spags is not getting. He didn't even get nominated. That is a travesty. He's got one of the best defenses in the league. And he's got one of the best defenses in the league with Chris Jones and maybe Charles Amena, who's a dude, but it's mostly some good guys rushing the passer. With a linebacker group that's deep and varied, but has some limitations in certain spots.
Really sad. It's just Chris Jones in the fourth quarter and then a bunch of guys.
Oh, man. We're going to have to talk about that some point.
We should later.
There's so much to do there, but Spags deserves his flowers. There's so much about this game I'm excited to talk about. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. You're going to have to
No, you're fine.
Normal. Because Mike McDonald, he's never called a game against Andy Reid, and Andy Reid's never called a game against him. He's done great against Shanahan-type offenses, really good work. Andy Reid's offense is really nothing like Kyle Shanahan's tree.
It's not like it at all.
Not at all. So is it going to be dominant like it is with that? Or is it going to be like, I just don't even know. And both defensive coordinators, they vary their game plans so much that we might be like, wow, this looks nothing like what we expected. Or do they know that the other side's going to expect them to do something really different from what they expected? So they're going to do the same thing.
Give it to me, Seth.
But they know that the other team knows that they know. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Yes,
there was a real like inconceivable moment over the last 2 days of pressers that I actually thought was fascinating that I'm happy to talk about since we're talking about Spags getting wild. Because Justin Reed talked about it yesterday, and then Spags and Nick Bolton both talked about it a little bit today. And yesterday, the jumping off point was Justin Reed first being asked about the Ravens offense, and he talked about how they will grind you down in the first half and then just keep thudding you through the second half, and that wears teams down. And then he was asked about the second half success that the Chiefs defense has had for so much of this year. And he talked about, he called it the Spagnuolo effect.
Yes.
Talked about making adjustments at halftime, having the players who are able to make those adjustments, sometimes even being stuff they haven't practiced during the week. This is stuff we've seen, but I don't think we've ever heard him really talk about it quite this way before. And so he talked about, like, we believe in Spags, and Spags believes in the players to actually pull that off. And then Nick Bolton today also ended up talking about how Spags isn't afraid of change, and he said he'll change in the first quarter, second quarter, fourth quarter. If there's something better that can work, they'll make that adjustment at the half, and it's not about who is right in that process. It's about getting to what's right in that process.
And that's the key point is we know. I think one of the most fascinating parts about the Chiefs defense, to your point, Josh, is that they will adjust literally drive to drive. And that's with both personnel and with scheme. Some of that is kind of forced upon them, like, hey, we don't have Willie Gay. Still, one of my favorite parts of last week's game is, hey, Leo, you're going to be the spy. Like, look at me, nod your head. You're the spy.
Decisions were made.
Especially when they're in the red zone, okay? Okay, you got it. Nick's going to be right there. But Leo, you cannot let him run. And Leo did his job. And then one of the best throws I've seen all season was executed to pristine levels.
Allen did a great job utilizing Leo's job as the spy there against him with that kind of little hesitation there. Leo, if he was not told, because you know what he was told, do not let that man get behind you.
Correct.
Don't let him. Just so that's why he didn't pursue. Because had he pursued, I don't know if Allen's able to make that throw, but it's just tough. And that was a tough job to give him because I like Leo a lot. He is not Willie Gay Jr.
No, he is not.
And you could see that, and I feel bad that
I mean, you could definitely see it.
Yeah. The linebackers, they didn't have a great game against the Bills. Now, the fourth quarter, they really started to tighten it up, and they started like, hey, Drew, how comfortable are you run blitzing? And Drew's like, thank you, God, for sending me on a run blitz because I'm tired of these jerks. And so, but like you could see, like that play in particular, and I felt bad kind of picking on Leo there, but you could see the difference between him and Willie Gay Jr. on that play. The closing speed, all of it's just different. And that's why it looks like Willie Gay Jr. was limited in practice today.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and dive in here. Let's get the injury report here real quick, Nate. No practice today as expected for Derek Nottie and Sky Moore. They haven't practiced at all this week. Sky is still on IR. Isaiah Pacheco and Joe Tooney have not practiced this week. We did get a little Tooney update from one of the insiders. I've already forgotten who it was, but one of them had something about a pec strain. I want your actual insight, Nate. I don't care who needed the credit there. It was probably somebody who was projecting Bill Belichick to take over for Andy Reid after this season. And then Willie Gay being limited both days this week, and Mike Edwards returning, and as he's in the concussion protocol, seem like pretty big deals.
Yes.
So what do you know, Nate? And then what's the latest in terms of some of those guys who you are expecting or hoping to see out there for the Chiefs?
Yeah, the major news is that Mike Edwards practiced, and that gives him a clear runway to be available. If he, again, goes through each stage of the concussion protocol all the way up to being pretty much cleared of the concussion protocol on Saturday, obviously the day before Sunday's game. Willie Gay is probably that midpoint of the injury report where you're like, okay, you want to monitor it more. I think the question will ultimately become how many snaps can he give you? You know, because this is something he's probably going to have to manage for the rest of the season for however long the season goes, whether there's one
Andy
game
Reid said
or
neck
two.
stiffness today, by the way. I didn't clarify that.
Yes, so that's not a neck. I don't believe it's a neck stinger, which is what Donovan Smith had. That it's slightly different because that deals with nerves, and obviously it can impact. I think they said it impacted Donovan Smith's shoulder just as much as his neck. So,
and Andy said Willie can't turn his head right now,
which is crazy. Look, man, football is a different sport. So it's going to be a question not of the coaching staff, but just what does Rick Burkholder and his staff think from an athletic training medical standpoint of like, okay, if he's available, which he could be, he's still a possibility of playing on Sunday. How many snaps is logical? And, you know, can he still be the high-end type of player that he's capable of if we know that you have to manage this injury throughout the course of the game? Of course, next is what happens with Joe Thuney. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow's the day. What happens tomorrow, I think, really determines will Joe Thuney be available. Now, there is some belief, and I said this on Tuesday, that he is going to play. The Chiefs have done as much treatment as they can to manage it. And now, as I've said before in the past, Andy Reid, from an old school standpoint, wants to see you practice alongside your teammates in some capacity the Friday before a Sunday game. We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow if Joe Thuney is capable of giving it a go. If not, you have Nick Allegretti, and the big thing there is you're going to have to find the right communication between Nick and Creed Humphrey, because of course, as we've said before, it's not just that the Chiefs blitz, the Ravens blitz from an exotic, angles as well. So that obviously is going to question
when
your
they do they do a ton of sim pressures.
Yes.
A lot of which for people watching, it's just, or listening, I suppose, the difference between a blitz and a sim pressure is a blitz, you're sending 5 or more, right? After the quarterback. A simulated pressure, you're quote unquote simulating a blitz, but you're usually just sending 4. But you're sending them from a weird place. So, like, all those snaps where you're like, why is George Karlaftis 20 yards down the field? One, because he can. You should have heard me screaming, water polo! Like, I don't remember even which play it was. But, like, I was like, and so I had to explain that to my folks who were watching the game with me. My dad's like, why are you yelling water polo? I'm like, because he played water polo, and that's why he's a beast. And my dad's like, okay. That's great, son, which, I love my dad. He's very supportive. But like, that's why you see plays like that. And that's why when people get mad about plays like that, it's like, look, if you can't love Spags at his, a defensive tackle is 15 yards. If Mike Pennell is in coverage down the field on a slot receiver, you don't deserve him at his. How is there a free rusher sprinting towards Josh Allen's face again? How? And that's just violating the protection rules that teams have is one of the great things that Spags is good at because, the protection slides and calls. That's what simulated pressures take advantage of to where you end up with like 3 offensive linemen just standing there having no one to block while like 2 guys are trying to block 4 guys. So that's the idea with simulated pressures. Ravens do a lot of that. They do a great job with it. And so, sorry for the extended thing. That's why I think, is Joe Thuney maybe an exception to the Friday rule? Like, if Saturday, or like if Sunday morning, Joe Thuney wakes up, is like, Coach, he pulls a, I'm not going to remember his name, in D2, the Mighty Ducks, where he looks at Gordon Bombay, said, Coach, I woke up, and the pain was gone. And he shows that he can rotate that hockey stick. Now, I doubt Joe Thuney will do that exactly. That'd be weird. But like Adam Banks. Thank you, Lev Mass. I'm so embarrassed.
One slap Banks.
On behalf of older millennials everywhere, I apologize.
Banks.
I'm embarrassed. I am embarrassed that I did not remember Adam Banks' name. That it's just gross. But like, Joe Thuney, he's got to be an exception, right?
You want to know one of my favorite parts is him on the left wing just waiting. He is like in a batter's box, just waiting for that puck. That's how hockey works. Right. That's the best part of all Disney movies is like Man, the coach on the other side is incompetent. How is Adam Banks wide open?
Yeah. Why are you letting this guy? It's the goalie. The goalie. Sorry.
How is Adam Banks that wide open? He's just waiting, guys. He's just.
Someone commented, Latrell commented, Tooney from the rich part of town. That's like, so I'm just asking you, Nate, because you know better than any of us.
Sure, it's possible.
It's
possible.
because you're Andy Reid, you can't be like, nah, man, you didn't practice. Like, Joe would be like,
but
Andy, you understand I'm a robot, right? Like, I
literally
my practice.
Like, coach, how's your technique look? It's been finely tuned to be exquisite, coach. That's where my hands are. I guess there's a possibility, but Andy Reid is very principled, and this is just something that is largely held true when you're not the quarterback, or obviously the 2020 season that was, COVID was looming over all of us. So, obviously some things had to be we managed as you went along. But I think, look, man, because they have Nick Allegretti, it's not a dire situation for Joe Tooney to play. And by the way, watch Nick Allegretti just swallow one of the defensive linemen late in the game.
Delicious.
And so it's not as dire as a situation. And look, Allegretti has played in big playoff games.
Allegretti.
As you guys know, I believe, did he start the infamous Super Bowl 55? Yes, he did. He was the left guard, I believe, or he was the right guard because they kicked.
I just looked this up a few days
ago.
They
kicked Andrew Riley to right.
He was at right tackle.
To right tackle, yes.
And Stefan Wisniewski was the other guard. Yeah.
Oh, the hodgepodge attempts at.
And by the way, guys, your quarterback has turf toe.
Yeah.
And
I forgot about that. Turf toe hurts, by the way.
Ndamukong Suh's on the other side. Not to do anything, just to be in Ndamukong Suh.
Just to be in Ndamukong Suh. That was the play call for him. All right, Ndamukong, what a great name.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're just hey, and Vita Vea's gonna be right next to you eating people, okay? Literally eating.
Just sitting there. Hey, what happened to Wiley? Oh, Vita ate him.
Yeah,
it was rough.
I mean,
it was like Old Man Logan and the Hulk, dude. Just
So look, there's a chance, but I just know that tomorrow's a key day, because even if he can be limited, that would be a positive sign that Joe Tooney might be available for Sunday's game. But right now, the assumption is, and look, we can't see these practices in detail, of course, but the assumption is that Nick Allegretti has taken every left guard rep in practice, so that if he is needed, he's been given the maximum amount of workload to be ready for Sunday's game.
There's several things going on in the chat at the moment, because Albert has asked with a super chat, Seth, I need some marriage advice. How do you and your wife decide where to go to dinner without the constant back and forth? But then there are several other people commenting various, like Levi says, Albert throwing a live grenade into this conversation. Adam says, Albert, you're going to cause this show to spiral.
Yep. It's the AFC Championship preview we all expected.
Seth, can you answer this in like 30 seconds?
I absolutely can.
Or 4 minutes.
So, Albert,
30 seconds would be so nice.
30 seconds. All right. Albert, it's very, very simple. Here's what you do, okay? You love and logic your wife. And if you don't know what love and logic is, you give her a choice, and you're okay with both choices. And that way, the one she rejects, because she's going to reject whatever you say, dude. The one she rejects first, you go to the other one. I just fixed your marriage, Albert. You're welcome.
What if your wife gets stressed out by having to make binary decisions like that?
Then what you do is you say, woman,
asking for a friend,
I need you to know something. Look at me in my eyeball, woman. I'm kidding. Don't ever start a sentence with the word woman. And in that case, you just go to McDonald's. That's the only restaurant I can think of there.
That was 30
terrible.
seconds. That's
terrible. Okay, for those who are watching, who are just listening, Nate held up his phone with a timer on it, and I panicked.
Which is nice that you can actually. I didn't know you could see live counting clocks. I thought you were just blind to that. So it was honestly really, really helpful that you did see it.
I had to enlarge it, Josh. I had to enlarge
the number. You thought I had situational blindness.
Yes, and I just wanted to ask one injury question of you both quickly, and then we can talk about like matchup stuff. They both have their head in their hands. Let's take a break.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Can I read a comment?
You can both do whatever you want all the time. I have no power here.
I mean, Thomas Lester with some advice from left field. Thomas Lester says, "Just take her to Chili's and then pop a Viagra after dinner. You will be all right." Who's driving? Who's driving from Chili's to the location of the rendezvous? You got to drive.
Chili's doesn't have spots for that.
You know, who's gotta drive? I do like the idea from Lexikij.
Okay.
Albert,
both
ask
reading
her,
the comments too, everybody. I can't.
Albert, ask her, guess where I'm taking you, and just go with it. That's not bad.
That's actually not pretty
That's
bad.
not bad. That's a little next level.
Now she's gonna test you and say a 5-star restaurant, and you're like, wouldn't you know it?
Yeah, woman, how did you know? And then you're like, oh, crap. Well, no, what you got to do is just make sure that you like the same.
Crazy hearing a former pastor ruin this guy's marriage.
Yeah, don't start a sentence with the word woman, dude. Like, come on. Like, use your common sense here. Like,
they're asking this show for advice.
So, look,
yeah,
where's their common sense?
Here's where we are, kids. Baltimore has not hosted the AFC Championship game since they were called the Colts.
that fan
T-Pain
base is gonna freak out.
T-Pain is doing halftime. T-Pain.
They've got Ray Lewis coming. They've got a
That's
Jonathan
so much better than the
Ogden coming.
Applebee's song.
They are so they are bringing the entire. It's the equivalent of I don't even know who the equivalent of, because all the most famous Chiefs at this point are mostly from this era. But they are bringing everyone. It's kind of like when it's like, oh, Will Shields is gonna be the drum beating guy, and you're like, oh, it's a big game. Yeah. It's a big game. This isn't you know what? I don't even want to name a player, because whatever player I name next would just sound like an insult to that player.
No, just go ahead.
They're bringing everyone. No, I'm not going to do it.
No, just go ahead. Just do it. Just do it. Just go ahead.
Oh, my goodness. I feel myself wanting to do it. You're really good at that. Stop it.
No one's listening. Go ahead. Let it flow through.
I'm just saying, you could name a random person from any Chiefs era. It'd be like, oh, Tony Moyaki's beating the drum tonight.
Whoa!
Okay.
What did Tony do to you?
Tony Moyaki was a legend.
Tony Moyaki.
Is he in the chat right now? Tony Moyaki, if you're listening to this, I thought you were. I loved Tony Moyaki.
I thought you were gonna.
I'd be honored to have him on the show with me and Nate sometime.
I thought you were gonna say one of my favorite friends who still posts, who gives insight to the routes he ran again in the 1993 season. That's JJ Burton, kids. I thought that's who you were gonna say is JJ Burton, who, by the way, also prayed that Tyler Bass missed the field goal. I watched it on JJ Burton's account. Yes, what would you like? I watched, I think it was on JJ Burton's Instagram account, and he's like, I think he's gonna miss. Please miss. Please miss. He basically praying Tyler Bass misses. JJ Burton might as well have been on the sideline, on the visitor sideline in Buffalo Stadium. So yeah, I mean, Tony Moyaki, he's somewhere chopping wood, just minding his own business, knowing that he's got an appointment at 2:00 Central Time on Sunday. But yeah, I'm sure someone's texting him right now.
Oh, I really liked Tony Moyaki. There were all sorts of people I could have said. So apparently the AFC Championship game is Sunday.
And the Baltimore Colts are one of the best teams we've seen all year, guys.
Oh. Well, from what I hear, based on
the
DVOA,
Baltimore
they're one of the
Colts on purpose.
Yes, of course they did.
One of the best teams in history by DVOA.
Yeah.
I just hope the Chiefs can keep it competitive, frankly.
Honestly.
I've decided to help out Bobby with just providing as much
I love it when you
material.
don't say people's last names because you're not confident in how to pronounce them.
I'm not confident in anything at this point anymore, and boy, would I have gotten that wrong. Stroop?
Mm-hmm.
Why does he spell it like that then?
Certainly said it many times, Seth Keysor. I don't. Some of us
Whoa.
learn. Why do you
Look.
spell it like that?
I don't understand.
Let's look at the top.
You have a
50
K-E-Y
Baltimore
that's pronounced
Colts.
Kai.
And I take full responsibility for that. I said to a judge once when we started hearing, she called me Mr. Keysor, and I corrected her, and she said, "Oh, I apologize, Mr. Keysor." She said, "Judge, I blame myself for spelling my name wrong." And no one has ever been less amused by a joke than that judge was. There was like 10 seconds of awkward silence. The defense attorney called me afterward because he felt so bad for me. He's like, "Wow,
So-
she didn't think you were funny, huh?" And I was like, "No."
Look.
Yeah.
I looked at the film.
You've no one in your life has ever given you a less amused look after a bad joke than that?
No
Can't think
one.
of anybody?
I'm delightful.
Now, I want to be honest, Josh. Bubba Smith concerns me in this game. Big guy coming off the edge, knows all the old school moves, all the tricks, very savvy. And then, of course, they might bring in Johnny Unitas on third down just to get a nice tush push. But he can spin it too. You never know. They might put two quarterbacks out there. Can they motion Lamar from cornerback to slot? Has anybody thought of this? Because, Johnny Unitas can spin it, guys. He can spin it.
Based on certain people's draft takes, Lamar might be more comfortable at wide receiver.
Right.
Yeah.
Johnny Unitas is very quarterbacky.
Oh, so quarterbacky. He's got that. That backwards drop back. He doesn't see what the new kids are doing these days. Now let me get that
Right.
thing and go.
That back pedal.
So
Josh,
what would you like to know about Kyle Hamilton? What do you want to
Josh,
know?
you look distressed. I don't understand. Was it me this time? I thought it was Nate.
Blue 18 said what?
I just want people to know that I'm trying because my reputation is I changed with video for us.
We've recorded 6 of these kids. This is our 6th AFC Championship preview. We are taking it about as serious as it's the 6th one we've done. Okay.
A lot of people have asked, like, how did you guys? Video's so good for the show. How did you guys not do videos sooner? Like, do you guys remember when we talked about the games?
Yes.
That
was great.
That's
that was,
why.
That was a wild time.
When we can see each
Yeah.
other, there's just something. I don't know what it is, but it you know what? It's like the opposite of putting a sheet over a bird cage to make it think it's night. When Seth and Nate can see themselves, it's like it is a
Well, it's like putting a mirror
difficult
in
experience.
front of a bird.
Right, you're just
Look,
pecking yourself to death, but it's not you're pecking. It's actually me, and I'm the one that's dying.
Well, and that's why it's so much less problematic for us.
Yeah,
Because it's you. You know,
you don't feel the consequences of it at all. You
No.
don't think that. Okay, good.
No,
it's a beautiful thing.
We've been here. None of the bright lights scare us.
You guys talked about Spags Blitz packages and stuff already. Some that was good.
Yeah.
We did.
That was good.
I gave a lecture on simulated pressures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did it.
Did
you
you-
did it. You did it for 5 minutes after I was going to try to take a break, but you did do it.
This
So
is
what-
mostly your fault. No one in the world is funnier than frustrated Josh Brisco. And that is not my fault that I've now seen it. And it's like I've touched the light once.
Seth Keysor here for victim blaming. Hey guys.
Hold on a second. The favorite piece of video I've seen, and it's in the internet. You can find it, but the best video I've seen, and there was some concern about, hey, is Chris Jones gonna show up? Is he gonna give maximum effort?
Ooh.
He only tries hard in the fourth quarter. I believe this video was occurring in the second or third quarter. This is inside the NFL footage. It is Joe Cullen. Fellas, I'm going to repeat myself one more time. I do not want you speed rushing Josh Allen. I do not want you getting outside of his shoulder. I do not want you speed rushing past him. And then Chris Jones says, "Who?" And Joe Cullen goes, Charles. And Chris Jones lights Charles Omenihu on
does.
fire.
Yeah.
Because to the point of both last Sunday's game and this Sunday, they have to work together in concert. Everything has to be deliberate and sequenced and synchronized in a way that the whole is better than the parts. That's how they have to rush the passer, whether it's obviously Josh Allen, and you get an even higher challenge with Lamar Jackson. So I'm fascinated to know what the pass rush plan is, because people were saying, well, it doesn't look like Chris is working that hard. All he's supposed to do is keep Josh in front of him, and then when he breaks, then you react. Yeah. And so what Charles Omenihu learned, or what he was retold by Dave Cullen after Chris Jones stopped berating him for 90 seconds, is I need power rushes. I need bull rushes. I need you to stay level with the quarterback, and when he goes, you go. And again, it was one of the best videos of them really adjusting in real time, kids. Them sort of saying, we've got to lean more on this side of the plan than even what Charles wanted to do, which is, can I just beat him with speed once? No more. No more of that.
And I just, on a side note, because that video started to make the rounds, and because it was cut off at a certain point, I don't know if people realized, like, they thought maybe he was disagreeing with Cullen, but that was Chris. He's not usually vocal like that either.
Right.
That was him going full Frank Clark, like, who? You don't, and like just flipping out, and that's not something you see from Chris. Here's the deal. It's a completely correct point. Joe Cullen's an incredible D-line coach.
Yes.
And you saw it in the fourth quarter. The type of pressure was just basically, hey, walk your guy back. And then it's less of one guy getting pressure and more the entire pocket collapsing around him, which means if he wants to escape that pocket, suddenly you can't just sprint through the B gap. Now you've got to back up and go all the way around, which means someone can disengage and start pursuing and either pick up a holding penalty or start running you down because you're moving the wrong way.
And that's exactly what Charles Omenihu does on the last 3rd and 10.
Yes.
There's immediate pressure, and Charles Omenihu waits till he breaks the pocket and then forces the throwaway, because he actually does what he's coached to do, the right time in the very most important moment of the game. But you only get that because of the interaction earlier, in my opinion.
And that's a huge deal. And part of that one might imagine, and this is something that, a lot of people are talking about Chris Jones' effort on run plays, and there's a conversation to be had here. Nate Tice wrote a piece about it. There's just a lot going on there with regards to Chris Jones. One thing that I tweeted about this earlier because I wrote about this at the beginning of the season. Chris Jones made first team All-Pro.
Yep.
And there is one of the $1 million incentives in his contract is first team All-Pro, which, by the way, this was such a mean-spirited incentive. Team
friendly. Team friendly, baby. Team friendly.
It's so hard to get there. But he got first team All-Pro.
It's almost like his agents didn't know what the F they were doing.
It's almost like Coach Andy Reid and General Manager Brett Veach said, individual award, team award.
And the
what if we pair them together? What if we do what it is?
What if we put those bad boys together? And that's
his agent, Mr. Krabs, was like, money, and then it was they just signed it.
Money. So appearing in the Super Bowl.
We're just 60 minutes away, Josh. How dare you? How dare you try to discredit these agents? How dare you try to muddy the negotiation waters? How dare you try to not love a man earning his money by his own bootstraps?
If only he had someone to pay to help him earn that money. Wouldn't that be something? But that's where there's $1 million.
Like $1 million an hour this year. It's not even hourly.
So the other half of this incentive. Now he had a different incentive for a Super Bowl win. That was Defensive Player of the Year. That one's not going to happen for him. But this one, it's $1 million incentive, first team All-Pro and Super Bowl appearance. Which means if the Chiefs win Sunday, Chris gets $1 million.
Yes.
That is so much money. And let me just tell you, right now, he's just sitting there thinking in his head, I can do anything for 60 minutes. That dude is going to be working like George Karlaftis. Like, he's going to be just like, George, come here. How do you run the whole game like a psychopath?
And knock him off the field.
He's going to be knocking on Isaiah Pacheco's door at 1 a.m. the night before. Isaiah, I got to talk to you, dude. How are you doing this? Like, how do you have that much energy? And I'm so excited to see that, because we all saw what Week 18 looked like, where he was just devouring guys. And the Chargers
You're going to watch Lamar
like,
Jackson turn into Easton Stick in front of your eyes on Sunday.
Yeah,
that's my prediction.
Well, because what the Chargers could do is we don't even care about moving the ball. All we want is to stop this man from getting his money. I almost called them the Bengals. The Ravens can't do that. They have to actually try to execute their game plan. So I'm excited. Kyle Coffey just commented, Chris going to use so much oxygen Sunday. He is. That guy's going to have an oxygen tank strapped to his back and run onto the field looking like Scuba Steve. It's going to be amazing. So that's just something for people to think about.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about the defense, Josh, because I know we got to keep it moving here, is they are willing to do it together. They are willing. Yep. The players are willing to adjust for the coaches, and the coaches are willing to adjust for the players. This is probably the defense that I've covered in my full 6 years now of the players owning the defense just as much as the coaches staff does. The ownership is, there's so much duality, there's so much versatility, the intelligence, and I'll ask you right now, look at that schedule. Look at it. Look at who the Baltimore Ravens have played for 2 reasons, kids. I know Zay Flowers is good. I loved him coming out of the draft. I thought he was the most draft-ready player in all of the receivers. And multiple scouts told me that. So give credit to the Ravens. Odell Beckham got all the tricks. We know what he can do. We know Odell Beckham can give you a pivotal third down completion. Isaiah Likely, hey, man, you a star in the making, baby. You a star. Okay? And Mark Andrews, we'll see. We'll see. They got Nelson Aguilar. Is that right? Is that who they running on third downs? They running third down Nelson Aguilar. Okay, cool. Look at that schedule. What's the best secondary that team has played against? Because I'll tell you what. If Jamari Connor plays like he did on Sunday, oh, we got fireworks, kids. Because I know what to expect from L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. He'll be in Zay Flowers' hip all game. So now it becomes about protecting the middle of the field. Justin Reed's, guys, I don't think anybody realizes Justin Reed went step for step with Stephon Diggs for 60 yards. Mike Edwards, if he's back to what we know, okay, I get it.
He understands the rotations.
Yep.
He helps show things that there's a great article on The Ringer about this, by the way, because McDonald does the same thing.
Yes.
And I wrote about it last week. The whole, hey, we're playing single high, I swear. And then they do something psychotic at the snap, which is just, it's always so funny.
Man, look at that schedule. Ain't nobody secondary doing this. That's the beauty of this game. And you know the other thing, Josh? I think the Ravens can do it on offense. I know the Chiefs can do it on offense. Because you could say, well, Nate, look at the Chiefs schedule. Ravens got a pretty good secondary. And yes, they do. They got a great collection of defensive backs. Look at the Ravens schedule. Who the best quarterback they played this season? Let me tell you who's not on it yet. The guy coming to M&T Bank Stadium on Sunday.
I want to talk about the Chiefs offense. I want to explore all of that, as you said, but not before we explore Tucker D. Franklin. Well, The D stands for Ducks, Mighty Ducks. Tucker, tell us about DraftKings.
Yeah, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Looking at the Chiefs and Ravens line, Chiefs plus 160 right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 3.5, I should say, on the money line. So go ahead and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Back to you, Josh.
Sorry, Tucker, I muted my microphone and forgot to unmute it. That one, taps chest, hand up, is on me. But what I was saying about our friends at KCTV5 and KC Sports Tonight was spectacular. So I'll say it again. Weeknight, 6:30 on KCTV5, CBS here in Kansas City, and 10:35 Saturdays and Sundays. That's KCTV5 Sports Tonight, frequently featuring some of KCSN's very own. Nate, you mentioned something that actually my friend and colleague and producer on The Zone, Dylan Michaels, tweeted out some point per game stats that I was surprised to see when he put all this together. I'm gonna rattle this off, and then we can talk about the Chiefs' offense. Ravens defense points per game against Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Matt Stafford, Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, and Brock Purdy. 22.8 points per game would currently rank 25th in the NFL. The Ravens defense points per game versus CJ Stroud in his first NFL game, Gardner Minshew, Ryan Tannehill, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Kenny Pickett, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Trevor Lawrence, and Mason Rudolph. 9 points per game.
This is so
If you're wondering where those came from, you want to see them again at dmichaels810 on Twitter.
Thank you. Exceptional job. This is so reminiscent of last year's Super Bowl, where I tried to be accurate and thorough and thoughtful in trying to explain to people, I don't care that they sacked no names 70 times, largely no names, like sprinkling some Dak Prescott, sprinkling some Justin Fields, who's elusive. I don't care who they sacked. They not him. Okay? And they not this scheme in this offense who has the most playoff experience of anybody, over the last, at that point, 5 years. Now we're going on to 6. Of course, you could add it even further with the Alex Smith years attached to it as well. So it's great for defenses to feast when they're supposed to feast. Mm-hmm. It's another thing when you're asking them to play the best player in the league when he's mentally sharp. And oh, by the way, he's as physically healthy as you could ask and want him to be for this type of game. And so to Seth's point earlier, when it comes to McDonald, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, he's going to have to make choices. But sometimes, as Sean McDermott learned last week, you make choices and then the choices are already made for you before you even made the choices. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about what this offense has now figured out is not only can you just rely on Pacheco and know that he's going to give you production from the running game, not only does it open up play action and tight ends running free. Guys, they're going to have to cover the entire width and depth of the field. And that I think that's what should give Chiefs fans most encouraging. It's not just the speed or the pass protection that's been very good, or the fact that Mahomes' accuracy when not throwing in like crazy windy conditions has been pretty great. And by the way, the conditions on Sunday's game might be the best of all 3 of these postseason games. You know what I would do? They're going to do a lot of looky-loos, a lot of, I just get the sense that like Travis Kelce will be used to manipulate a lot of secondary defenders. If they do not get pressure consistently, the Chiefs will move the ball, and then will ultimately come down to who plays better in the red zone. But I think this is a screen game waiting to be had, because the Ravens could feel the need to bring pressure. The Ravens could get more exotic and try to spread things out. And I just know Andy Reid's probably got a screen or two just lined up for him for Sunday's game.
Mm-hmm. Who does that put the spotlight on for you, Seth, in terms of the skill position guys? I mean, obviously Pacheco, Kelce, Rice in some order, not necessarily that one, end up being kind of your 1, 2, 3. But does that lead you to any particular solutions for this offense? I'll also mention, now you wrote about the gravitational effects of Travis Kelce in the Chief of the North newsletter. People can check out now. I don't know that it's going to... Both of you guys are going to have to, at the end of the show, plug things you've written and will write before this game still, because I don't know how much of it's going to fit into our... I was going to say our hour. How dumb would that have been? Our hour and 10 minutes or so. But the Travis Kelce gravitational pull thing is really fun. probably going to be relevant against the Ravens too, I'd imagine.
So the Ravens play a fair amount of zone coverages, and that's one of the things that you generally do when you run simulated pressures. Because one of the things about being a simulated pressure team is you're generally speaking, not always, but generally, and I'll keep using Karlaftis as the example because he's someone Spags likes to send out because he's athletic. He's very athletic for a defensive end. And he also is really comfortable getting his hands in passing lanes as I wave my hands to demonstrate what that looks like. Jazz told me that I over-explain things, and so I'm trying not to do that. We were talking the other day, but no, I'm kidding. So
I was going to let you try.
No, I realized what was happening there. So anyway.
And by over-explaining things, she means that...
So, oh, right, simulated pressures. So Karlaftis is the example I'm going to use because so generally what you're going to see is him drop into some sort of shallow or maybe even intermediate zone. You might see him go into the flat. You might see him go up the seam even. But even if he's traveling up the seam, like say with a tight end, it doesn't mean he's on man coverage on that tight end. It means they think the tight end up the seam might be hot. The hot throw, and so they, hey, take away that lane. Because the point of a defensive end or defensive tackle in coverage with a simulated pressure is not to actually cover a wide receiver, because that would be insane. The job is to, when the quarterback sees that there's some unblocked dude coming screaming towards his face looking to decapitate him, he is going to, if he's a good quarterback, look at his hot read, and if there's a dude in red standing there, it's like, oh crap, and that's where the stuff hits the fan. So because of that, if you're running a lot of simulated pressures, you're not going to run a lot of man coverages, because that would mean not only does George Karlaftis have to cover, a tight end or worse, like a slot receiver, he's got to do it from a 3-point stance, maybe a 2-point stance from the defense spot, not putting him in a position to win. So the reason I say all that is the Ravens being a traditionally zone-heavy type team, generally speaking, plays into exactly what Kelsey does really, really well, and the gravitational pull that he has. And so that's what I wrote about. It's most obvious on the Rashee Rice touchdown on the first drive of the postseason, where Kelsey, it's basically designed to be kind of a pick play in case they're in man, but also draw eyes in case they're in zone. And there are 4 defenders that are like,
looking at him.
Ooh, look. The only defender that's still looking at Rashee Rice is the linebacker from the side of the field that he was coming from, trying to point like, is anyone going to cover that guy? It was the most pointless pointing of all time because the ball was already starting to come out. It's like the equivalent, like if there was a meteor 30 seconds away and someone pointed like, someone should do something about that meteor. And it's just too late, man. And so that's where some of the things that the Ravens try to do, and it's not all the time, they've had really man-heavy game plans too. So some of the things that they try to do can play into some of the things the Chiefs do really well. And that's where it's really going to be one thing that Mahomes has done. And this is such a basic answer, but really the pressure falls on Mahomes. And I know that's a basic answer, but it's also true because with all those simulated pressures that they utilize, and that's why they look like a relatively low percentage blitz team, not super low, but not as high as the Chiefs. It's because they run so many where it's just four. Now, never mind that it's, 2 corners, a safety, and 1 defensive end. It's just 4. The protections are what matter there. And Mahomes has had unbelievable control and been right so often on the protections in the playoffs. If you go back and rewatch the Miami game and the Buffalo game,
the Miami game is absurd. It's disgusting.
And they got him once or twice, but that was on 30 blitzes or sim pressures where he was just pointing out before the snap. No, you there. Okay, we're gonna have a 1 unblocked guy, but he's gonna be on the far end. So I'm gonna drift back into the right, buy myself an extra 2 seconds, and someone's gonna be open because when you're blitzing, there's fewer guys there. And it was masterful. And that's where it's going to be. That's where the chess match is going to be primarily. And then Kelsey is who he is. He's got to do the things that he's got to do. Rashee Rice, we've seen what he does. It's going to be, okay, MVS, Watson, Hardman, and you got a couple of those in you?
Yep. Yep, here we are. It's another MVS game.
The redemption tour started early this year.
Yep. Hey man, last year you blacked out. Can you give us one more of those?
Yeah. And that's the big thing. Baltimore does not give up big plays. They don't give up deep shots. They do run a lot of they run a lot of cover six, honestly, something that Spags does a lot of. So you're often going to see middle field open type looks with two deep safeties with them. And so they're not a team that gives up many deep shots. And it's going to be really interesting to me though, because like they went from a team like the Texans and just dominated them. But the Texans game is predicated on a bunch of deep shots. Patrick Mahomes has had to live this way for years now. Like, it's not like Baltimore is their goal as a defense isn't really that different than what every defense has been trying to do to him for like 3 years now. So all that's interesting to me. I don't know if there's any nuggets in there whatsoever, but all that's really interesting to me.
I'd like to ask about mistakes real quick, because that's the next thing for me that actually gives me some pause, and you guys can both take a crack at it, but Nate, it feels like it's your turn. The thing that has hurt the Chiefs the most this year offensively has been them getting in their own way. I mean, Seth's got a 97-part series of self-inflicted wounds that you can read on the Substack. and Nate, I think you've asked Andy Reid several times questions that led with him being just a tick off.
Yes.
My concern in all of this, and you guys have both to this point in the last half hour have given me a little extra hope on Chiefs offense versus Ravens defense. Not that I was hopeless with it, but
right.
What I am concerned by is that the Dolphins and Bills had enormous weaknesses just by injuries in the weeks leading up to those games. And the Ravens don't have enormous weaknesses. They don't have enormous injuries, and they do capitalize on mistakes. And the Ravens offense capitalizes on mistakes when the defense gets the ball back. My biggest question about the Chiefs in this game, again, this is not revolutionary. I'd be like, you used to win the turnover battle. But it is, when are the penalties going to set you back, and then are the Ravens going to make you pay? Are you going to turn the ball over, and how many points will the Ravens score off of that? That's the thing I can't quite get out of my head at this point.
The defender you should be most concerned about is give it to me, Josh.
I don't even know what team you're talking about.
Owe?
Owe, sure.
Owe. Udafe Owe. Basically the edge rusher, who's probably got the most juice, in my opinion. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen are great, but they're not traditional pass rushers, I would say. Jadeveon Clowney can still give you great snaps, but really it's about, can Owe force a holding penalty for Jawan Taylor or Donovan Smith? I think the player that I would circle, and he's going to be out there quite a bit because he's multi-versatile. He's very versatile. He's multifaceted. He can do a lot of different things. It's why he was like the perfect player for Bill Belichick, and that is Kyle Van Noy.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Van Noy does some wicked... I bleeped myself.
Nice.
But he's a little undersized. And he's not super fast. He's incredibly intelligent. Good tackler. How much can they put him in conflict? How much can they pick on him? Because what you've seen is when the Ravens have really good games, Calvin Noy is amazing. Because Roquan Smith's right there. And guess what Roquan Smith does? Destroy things. Just destroys things. So I think much of their success, I believe, in the secondary is actually about the 4 linebackers on the field, sprinkling a little Calvin Noy in that bad boy, and now you got something. The Ravens weirdly have struggled against the run. It's kind of not Raven of them. It's weird.
That's so not Raven.
As I'm looking at the stats here,
I deserve that for letting you beat me to that joke.
If you're listening, Seth just slapped himself in the face. That's
I John Hendersoned it, but I don't have the level of success to have a trainer do it. And I'm also not John Henderson. There's a few differences. Small.
Also, there are like 4 or 5 reasons I would have slapped you earlier in the show. way worse than that.
Yeah. So I think the funny part in all of this is that the Chiefs could run the ball, but man, this is one of those games, guys. It's one of those games. They're good. I'm not saying they're not good. are they as good as Philly last year? You remember that first 15, Josh?
Yeah.
Oh, you remember that first 15? You remember that zipper? How slow it came down and just showed you glimpse after glimpse after glimpse of the middle of the field's gonna be all there waiting for us. Hey, you want to put corner on Kelsey? Oh, I didn't think you would. Give him a little out and up. Oh. It's a zipper game, kids. We've waited an hour to say it. Pull that zipper down, but real slow. Do it real nice, real sensual. Give it to him. Just snap.
I'm so uncomfortable
after
right now.
snap after snap. That first 15 better be hot lava. Because I think the Ravens are a defense that deserves it. Look, we've seen them be forced into that type of uncomfortableness, but then you turn the lights on, you dim the lights, turn the music on, get the sense right, and then you pull that zipper down. Real smooth, so smooth.
Yes, Seth?
I would just say that I think what my colleague Nate is trying to say is that Mike McDonald has not seen everything Andy Reid has to offer.
Correct. But he gonna see it when he sees it. You'll see it. You'll know. Ooh,
He'll see it when he believes it.
I didn't know. I didn't know you look like that. Wow. Wow. You know, they only told me. They told me, but I had to see it for myself.
So I got nothing.
Okay. It sounded like you were gonna keep talking. It felt like you had a.
No, I was trying to think of the linebacker thing is a really interesting thing because they just played two teams in a row where Miami's linebackers are fine, but they're not great, and the Bills obviously had some really serious injury issues at linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens have built their team in large part around their linebackers. Adam Sheehan asks, when did Josh become the adult here? LOL. None of us really know. I really think it's when we switched to video.
Look, guys.
It is.
Look,
I don't know why.
Look, we have a track record. They have a track record. He has a track record. You want to see Andy Reid give you a zipper game? Look, guys.
Yeah.
When I first introduced this, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a little. I know it's gonna make people a little uncomfortable. It's gonna shock them. I can't even remember the first. Was it the Chargers or? You know, we called the Ravens 2020 game, if I remember correctly, the walk-off. It's a walk-off of the Zoolander days between Lamar and Patrick, and we saw how that went. All I'm saying is, look, man, you know, Mike McDonald knows. Boys, they're going to run something we ain't seen all year.
Oh, yeah.
Because they diabolical like that.
I'm genuinely curious with the team that's built around his linebackers because what's interesting, Smith has largely really rehabilitated in some ways his reputation from Chicago, where he'd had a reputation as a really good run stopper, but sometimes a liability in the pass game, and that's not what he was touted coming out. And I think in the Ravens defense, he's done a lot better, but he's still I kind of like linebacker-centric teams against the Chiefs because every now and then they think to themselves, we don't need to do anything different because our linebackers are great in coverage. And that's how you get Luke Kuechly with his ankles broken or Fred Warner running the wrong way.
Say his name. Say his name, Seth. Say his name for me so I can let me brace myself. Say his name.
Man, I don't even know I said the best two.
Nah, baby. People in Buffalo told me Matt Milano was
Matt
a
Milano.
Hall of Famer.
But sometimes you've got Matt Milano covering Travis Kelce, a man in the red zone in the most important snap of his life and just getting worked over. Now, to be fair, it was a great ball too. But that's where we've seen this.
Yes.
Now, Kelce is not, he is not more athletic than Smith or Queen at this point. But linebackers, I had Seren ask me about this. He asked, like, well, okay, are they just going to use Smith or Queen like in coverage on Kelce? And they're both probably more athletic than Kelce at this point. But linebackers don't practice against routes. like the ones Kelsey runs. And there's this huge disadvantage there. There's a reason why Kelsey can separate from, like, anyone. Levante David is the only linebacker I've seen do pretty okay against him. And even then, that was because they were like, okay, we got that one snap done. Okay, we mixed up our looks. Let's get back to zone, So I kind of like that.
And you have to remember, too, the Buccaneers played them literally 10 weeks earlier. Right. So they had actual real reps of seeing what it was like to play them and then obviously adjusted accordingly.
Well, and they had the advantage of they can't block us at all.
That's
That's a pretty big advantage.
Yep, pretty big advantage.
I'm so curious about what they do, but nothing would really surprise me. Like, it really wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs, what they did is they went really heavy against the Bills to exploit their linebacker group. The Ravens, what they're going to do if the Chiefs go heavy against them, they're probably going to dial up some run blitzes. And what I could see happening there is some under center play action stuff over the middle of the field to Rice or Kelsey. I can see a lot of that being at least in the game plan just to see how they react if they go heavy. You could maybe even look for a little bit of a Noah Gray thing a few different times.
Sure.
So that's just things that I'm looking at.
Their best defensive player is literally Kyle Hamilton.
He's awesome.
The problem is the Chiefs. The problem is Kyle Hamilton has to respect Marquez Valdes-Scantling now. The problem is Justin Watson may be a factor. The problem is Rashee Rice, good luck tackling him. Right. Kyle Hamilton is so good at football, but he's got a pretty big burden because you're combining the elusiveness and the accuracy of Mahomes with obviously the route running of Kelsey, and then some pretty legitimate guys you have to be concerned with if they're going to cross your face or if they're going to use a lot of routes coming at you to see which one you pick. So it's a great game, guys. Like, the Ravens could definitely win. The Ravens could definitely give the Chiefs problems, but we're just trying to provide all the possible solutions that the Chiefs could have for this game, just because. The other thing too, Josh, is what if the Chiefs get a 10-point lead in the second quarter?
I would like that to happen because I do think that matters.
The Ravens were tied at halftime to the Texans. Okay, with CJ looking like, okay, this is a little different, guys. This is a little different because Mike McDonald is good. We have established that. It was 10-10 at halftime, and it took him a while to get into rhythm, and that's the beauty of the rest versus the rust sort of argument as the number one seed who took the final week of the regular season off and obviously didn't have to play on Wild Card Weekend. But the Ravens have done a very good job when the game script favors them, when they have a lead, when the game is tied. But similar to the Kyle Shanahan rep, get them down 10.
Get them off schedule.
You can see cracks. You can see things to sort of exploit, and it becomes harder for them. And I think, too, the Chiefs have the experience not only just from the postseason's perspective, but they've played in games where they've been down 14. They've played in games they've been up 14. The Ravens have not played a lot of games where they were the team that didn't punch first and became the aggressor and sort of, as Justin Reed said, wore the team down as the game progressed. So if the first 15 is as exquisite and as curvaceous and as voluptuous as I expect it to be, then you can the Chiefs might be able to go up 2 scores if McCole Hardman doesn't fumble by the goal line.
Which that's the only thing that stopped them from a dominant performance was that fumble. And sorry, Josh, you go ahead.
Let's pick it then. No, let's pick it. Nate, I feel like you have maybe put the most cards on the table. What is your prediction for this game?
Chiefs 26, Ravens 24.
Chiefs 26, Ravens 24. Gosh, that sounds like a barn burner. That's going to be so stressful. I paced 6 miles during the divisional round.
Embrace the nervousness, Josh. That's all you can do. Embrace the nervousness, Seth. Embrace it.
I assume I'm next.
I'm ready.
Yes.
You just seem like it seems like it's cooking for you. I'm ready for you to go.
I think 24, 27. I think it's Chiefs 30. Oh man.
Ooh, he put a 30 on it.
Ravens 27. I think both offenses, just because there's so much conversation about the defense, I have no schematic reason to think this. I think you're going to get, for the second time in a row, a version of an over my dead body game from both quarterbacks. And I want to go back to a quote that I thought was really, really great from Robert Mays, where he was talking about Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes from the divisional round. It's like rewatching this, like the quarterback level of play was so high. Josh Allen was incredible. Patrick Mahomes was flawless. And that, it's being incredible is hard enough. Josh Allen's such a great quarterback. But Mahomes is able to do that while also just being flawless. Like, I finished my charting. I don't have it up for today. He had a couple of inaccurate throws. Other than that, no missed shots, no happy feet, no potential picks. He just doesn't leave anything for the defenses to grab. I think Jackson's going to be incredible. I think we're going to get another. Mahomes doesn't have a single happy feet snap the entire postseason so far. Doesn't have a single missed shot the entire postseason. Hasn't thrown a single potential pick. That is borderline crazy. So I think both offenses are going to do a little more than what people are expecting, because I just think both quarterbacks are going to play at an unbelievably high level.
I am going 23-20 Ravens. I will do it. I think it might be the first time I picked against the Chiefs like this whole season, which obviously was incorrect many times. I think it'll be just as close as it sounds. I have picked a score that implies lots of kicking action from Justin Tucker to Harrison Butker. I think that fits. I think both of these defenses are good. I am worried that the Chiefs are going to have one or two of those mistakes that have happened all year long, and the Ravens are the exact type of team to take advantage of those. I don't know what happens against the Bills if they're not playing a practice squad linebacker, and I don't know what happens against the Dolphins if they have healthy edge rushers and maybe heaters on their sidelines or whatever. But I would love to completely believe that the Chiefs we saw most recently are the truest version of them.
Yep.
And I just they let opportunities get by last week, and they were able to overcome them. I think the Ravens are significantly better than the Dolphins and Bills, and I feel like I've gained a bit of postseason confidence from two excellent people. I got buzzed in the Discord, in the KCSN Discord just now because I picked the Ravens. Why did that happen?
Last year, I picked the Bengals to beat the Chiefs in this exact game.
Well, not
you and
just
I
you. Not just
both
you.
had the. I think you and I both had the Eagles. I think we both had the Eagles in the Super Bowl, which then Seth made a big deal of.
I did.
Because he totally predicted that Jalen Hurts would drop the football and Nick Bolton would house it.
I did.
Predictions are stupid. This is the dumbest, the most useless thing we do.
Don't let it out of the bag.
Show.
The
most useless thing that anyone does in sports media is give final score predictions.
Can you put some put kitten mittens back on, Josh?
Johnny, thank you for thanking me for no unanimous votes. What do you want? You want us to all pick the Chiefs?
Hey, we don't do the graphics here, kids. Where every time Mina Kimes is like, nah! Even if you're right, yes.
Yeah, I think it's very, very close. I'm flipping a coin that lands on the 15 games this year that the Chiefs had disgusting mistakes that they were punished for like 6 of those times. So that's where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'll take the Chiefs in the points. I'll take the desire to be wrong, but I'll go ahead and be the one that takes Baltimore.
Okay,
it's a good pick. They're a terrific team with a great quarterback. They're much better than the teams that the Chiefs just played, I think. Now, the Bills were on a heater. We'll see. But I think everyone be nice to Josh. It's a perfectly reasonable.
Of course.
No, don't feel the need to be nice to me, but do acknowledge that the Ravens are the favored football team here.
Yes.
Basically what I'm doing is, last week when we all picked the underdog Chiefs, the Bills were favored and shouldn't have been. The Ravens should be favored in this game. Both of you are picking upsets.
You've got 18 weeks of evidence as to who the Chiefs are. Maybe more like 15 weeks, because they had a couple weeks where we were like, oh, hey, here's the real them. This is one of those things where it's like, well, who's the real you? Yeah, the real me is the person I say I'm trying to be. No, it's not. The real you is the person you are. Good life advice, by the way. So you know what? I'm going to change my prediction. No, I'm just kidding. I'm leaving Joshua.
I also don't have any power over how this game goes. If anyone's concerned or confused about that, I would, if the Chiefs win this game, I would pick them over either NFC team in the Super Bowl. How about that? There's a 3-week early prediction for you.
I like it.
I know it's a divisional game. I know it's divisional games to sample from, but they lost to Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson. I cannot stress that enough. This team is mortal, and they needed.
I remember watching the Broncos and the Raiders beat the Chiefs. Just if we're doing like crappy divisional games, right?
Yes, of course. But I also watched a amazing punt return win them a game against the Rams in Baltimore in rainy conditions.
Oh yeah, I remember
so
that.
Look, I mean, I want to see it, and I think it's fair to ask. I want to see it from Baltimore. Like, they've been the best team. They went on the road. Their two best victories are on the road against the 49ers and beating the absolute brakes off the Detroit Lions at home. My God. So bodes well if they make it to the Super Bowl, but we just have too much evidence of this coach, this quarterback, at the best defense they've ever had. I mean, you just want to see it. I think it's fair. You can pick either team, and I completely understand why. But that team's done it before, and quarterback's playing great, guys.
Yep,
the quarterback's playing pretty great, and Lamar is exceptional, and he's going to have to be even better than he was last week. But there's a track record. Even if the Ravens have been the more consistent team this season.
Last thing, because let's get this kind of locked in, and then we should get out of here. What's your your confidence interval? Like, what if you say, hey, it's a 51-49 game, it's the closest thing in the world. I am curious about where both of you would put the scale right now of like confidence, because I think that contextualizes it a little bit.
I'm actually 60-40. I'm a little more confident for some reason about the offensive side of things. I don't know why. I might end up looking like an idiot. I'm comfortable with that. Wouldn't be the first, second, third, or 100th time. But I'm about 60-40 on that. I've got some confidence, but I'm not like going to be shocked when it turns out to be, 10-7.
Right. I'm at like 55-45. That's sort of the ratio. I was 60-40
right.
Ravens to start the week. I have ticked in the Chiefs' direction. It's not quite far enough.
I'm like 58-42. I mean, they have the better coach. They have the better quarterback.
Yeah,
I know it's a team sport, kids. I do know that. Their defenses, when you look at it statistically, they're mirror images. They do it in different manners, but those defenses are pretty close statistically. So if most things are even, coach, quarterback, they kind of matter. And even for Jim, who points out Harrison Butker, Justin Tucker, I know who's been the better kicker this year.
How about that?
I know who's been the better kicker. He wears red. He wears red and white.
Seth, real quick, Harrison Butker has talked many times about how he's just thankful that the Lord guides his kicks through, and that he prays for success, and it's God's will. What did Tyler Bass do you think?
Maybe it's more about what he didn't do. That's the issue. Isn't it?
We all have to repent at some point.
I'm
not doing the hard out here because or the drift out here, because I do want to make sure people actually know that where they can get the stuff you guys have been doing this week and will do this weekend. So I'm, for the second time today, letting a little bit of a bit go by so we can circle back and make sure people can follow all the right stuff. First of all, across socials, even including what the husk of Twitter that I would still like to live, but we'll just sort of see. I'm at JB Brisco. Nate is at by Nate Taylor. Seth is at Real MN Chiefs Fan. I'll be in Kansas City. Nate will be in Baltimore. Seth will be in Minnesota. There's not a game there. But you can follow all of us there. Plus, Seth's work is all at the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. Nate's work is all on theathletic.com. Both of you guys real quick. Nate first, what's up right now? What can people go read and check out right now that you put out recently? And what's coming leading up to the game? Of course, you'll have post-game coverage there as well.
What's up right now is a piece on Isaiah Pacheco, who has... When the Chiefs say simplify the offense, it's hand the ball to 10. What's coming next is a feature on Steve Spagnuolo.
Yes.
And a little later in the week is a full-on breakdown of You know it, kids. Kyle Hamilton versus Travis Kelce. Let's go.
Let's go.
Seth, what do you got? We talked about the Travis Kelce piece you've already got up there. What's the plan?
I'm going to do a film review on Mahomes, and then I'm going to stick to chalk. I'm going to do a keys to the game on Saturday, where I'm going to talk a little bit about what the Chiefs did on defense in the fourth quarter against the Bills and how that might be applicable and not applicable against the Ravens if I have time, which I think I will.
Also on Sunday, you can hear the game on Sports Radio 810 WHB here in Kansas City. We'll have Westwood One's call, and you can listen to the game, listen to the trophy presentation, all of that stuff. Hopefully, it's a fun listen and not a painful one, which will hopefully be true about the postgame show as well, featuring yours truly. So there you go. That's the stuff. That's the predictions. That's why everyone's mad at me. I even wore a Chiefs hat today. I thought I would try to, I don't know, keep everybody on my side. It didn't really work. I'm okay. I'm comfortable with that. Nate, with that, give us the final words as we head into the Chiefs' 6th consecutive AFC Championship game.
And the first on the road. I just want you to close your eyes and imagine that in a game that is tightly contested, where grown men are chasing a football that is not round, tackling, pushing, shoving, catching, blitzing. Coaches are going to try to get their players to adjust to their coaching tactics. And in the background, booming at the M&T Bank Stadium is, "I'ma buy you a drink." Oh